Wonderful.
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
शङ्कराचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
वन्दे
वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम्
ॐ
ॐ
सहना भवतु
सहनाववतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
सह
भुनक्तु
वीर्यम्
सह वीर्यम्
कर्वावहै
करवावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
विद्विषावहै
शान्ति
ॐ
शान्ति
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 शान्तिः
हरि ओम्.
So we had completed the 13th mantra in the last class. And we saw that it said that during the dream, the jiva becomes the okta of pleasure and pain in the dream world, which of course is projected by Nidra Shakti. And in the Sushupti Avastha, what happens is he gets the original nature of Ananda because the mind has been resolved. This was the text of the last verse. Now we will chant the 14th verse. So please unmute yourself. पुनश्च जन्मान्तरकर्मयोगात्
पुनश्च
पुनश्च
जन्मान्तरकर्मयोगात्
योगात्
स एव जीवः स्वपिति प्रबुद्धः
स
स
एव
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 जीवः
जीवस्वपिति
स्वपिति
प्रबुद्धः
प्रबुद्धः
पुरत्रये क्रीडति यश्च जीवः
पुरत्रये
पुरत्रये
क्रीडति
क्रीडति
यश्च
यश्च
जीवः
जीवः
ततस्तु जातं सकलं विचित्रम्
ततस्तु
ततस्तु
जातं
जातं
सकलं
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 विचित्रम्
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 आधारम् आनन्दम् अखण्डबोधम्
आधारम् आनन्दम् अखण्डबोधम्
आधारमानन्दमखण्डबोधम्
यस्मिन् लयम् याति पुरत्रयम् च
यस्मिन्
यस्य
लयं
यस्मिन् याति
पुरत्रयं
पुरत्रयम्
पुरत्रयम्
च
च
Very profound verse. So the when the Sushupti is over, what happens? The two Shaktis, Vikshepa and Avarna, start again. Now let's look at the words in this mantra. Punaha cha, once again. Once again, when Sushupti is completed. Sa eva jivaha, that very same jiva, swapiti. Swapiti means dreams. So goes into dream avastha. Alternatively, prabuddhaha, he wakes up. So after Sushupti, he can again go back to dreaming state or he can wake up. And then Janmantara Karma Yogat. Antara Janma Karma Yogat. Yogat here is the unity, association. So because of the connection with the karma of previous lives, Janma Antara Karma. What happens? Sakalam Vichitram. All these things which are unique, the diversity, the multiplicity, Jatam is born. And Tataha too. Tataha here is that Jiva again. So born out of that Jiva alone. And Yaha cha Jivaha, and that same Jiva, Kridata, sports, Puratraye, in all the three worlds. The three worlds is three worlds of experience. Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti. And Chapuratrayam, moreover, all these three worlds of experience, Layam Yati, resolve, where Yasmin into that Jiva itself. And what is the nature of that Jiva? Khanda Bodham, indivisible consciousness, Anandam, bliss, Adharam, the substratum of everything. So this mantra deals with what happens when Sushupti Avastha comes to an end. Prabuddha, he wakes up. He comes to Jagrada Avastha. And the normal expression here is that Prabuddha or Swapiti. Either he dreams up or he wakes up. Right? There are two important differences between there are two terms here, Alpa Swapna and Maha Swapna. Right? So Prabuddha relates to waking up to the great dream, which is Jagrada Avastha. And Alpa Sapna, Sopiti comes to waking up to the dream state itself. Therefore, both are waking up actually, and both are waking up to a dream state. So if he goes from Sushupti, if he goes back to the dream state, starts dreaming again, it's a small sapna, Alpa Swapna, right? And if he goes back, if he doesn't sleep and gets up, he wakes up, then the mantra says that basically he is waking up to another swapna, the great dream, the Jagrata Avastha. So in this small swapna, alpa swapna, waking happens naturally. No effort is required, right? You don't need to do sadhana, karma yoga, upasana, shravanam, etc. But in Mahaswapna, which is the Jagra state, see what is being said is that from the dream state, the Alpaswapna state, waking up is not a problem at all because it's a natural process. Your tamas is exhausted and you wake up. But you're waking up where? You are waking up into the Mahaswapna. And from that Mahaswapna state, which is the Jagrada Avastha, there is no natural waking up. You cannot deliberately decide to wake up. Mahasapna will continue eternally unless you make a sustained effort. Karma yoga, upasana, shravanam, maranam, nididhyasanam. Thus, waking up from the swapna, Mahaswapna, is a dedicated exercise which we call Vedantic study. Right? We saw in Kathopanishad, right? Uttishta Jagrata, Prapyavara Nibodhata. Arise and wake up. So that has to be connected here. When the Upanishad says wake up, it's telling you that even though you are in Jagrata Avastha, don't think that you are not in a dream. You are very clearly in the Mahaswapna, the great dream. And therefore, the waking up from the great dream is by knowing your nature, real nature as Paramatma. And how can you know that? Only by going to a Shrotriya Brahmanishta Guru. Now, this is one difference between the dream state, waking up from the dream state, the Alpaswapna, and waking up from the Mahaswapna, the Jagrata Avastha. When I wake up from the dream state, the and enter the Jagrata Avastha, the Vikshepa Shakti and the Avarana Shakti, which created the dream state, they both disappear. Right? You understand? The dream state also is projected by Vikshepa and Avarana. So they both disappear when you wake up from the dream state. But when you wake up from the Jagrata Avastha, which Shakti does not disappear?
The world still continues, that is the Vikshepa.
The Vikshepa will not disappear. Your Avarana will disappear because you will no longer see the world as Satyam. But the Vikshepa continues because Vikshepa Shakti is very much there. The world continues, therefore, Vikshepa Shakti does not disappear. So, this second difference you have to understand, which means that even a jnani has to continue to experience the Jagat, the world, until his physical death of the body. And thus, in a Jivan Mukta also, the Mahasapna continues even after you wake up from the Mahaswapna. The world continues. What happens is that the Satyatvam of the world has been destroyed. With the disappearance of the Avarana Shakti, you understand that the world is also a dream. And therefore, I no longer consider myself as the created, but I understand that I am the creator. The Jagrata Avastha does not disappear, but there is Mithyatvam Nishchayaha. It gets falsified as Mithya. Now, What decides or who decides which swapna you enter when you wake up? Whether you enter the dream world or you enter the Jagrata Avastha. What decides? So this is said here. Sa eva jivaha, that very same jivaha, swapiti prabuddhaha, enters the swapiti. Swapiti is the swapna avastha. Swapiti literally means swapnam pashyati. So the dream state. Or prabuddhaha, wakes up. And what decides what? Punascha Janmantara Karma Yoga because of the prarabdha of previous births. What does that? What does that mean? Because of the prarabdha of previous births, I have got this body, and that prarabdha can be exhausted only through sukha dukkha anubhava, the experiences of pleasure and pain. And both these experiences are possible when only when the body is there, which means only when I have a identification with the body, only when deha abhimanam is there. In Sushupti Avastha, neither punyam nor papam can be exhausted because both the bodies are not active, neither your physical body nor your swapna body. But in Jagrat Avastha, both bodies are active. In Swapna Avastha, one body is active. And therefore, in both these avasthas, you can exhaust punyam and papam. And therefore, sa eva jivaha, that very same jiva. What does he do? Swapati. He comes to Swapna Prapancha or Prabuddhaha. He comes to Jagrat Prapanchaha. And the whole cycle starts again, right? Then he goes back to Sushupti, comes back. It's an endless cycle. And this is a beginningless cycle because the beginning of the cycle cannot be discussed. There is no beginning at all. How does the cycle end? That can be discussed. The cycle ends only through Atma Jnanam. Cycle ends only through Jnanam. And thus, the teacher here is winding up the discussion on the micro, on the Vyashti. Brahmaji, the teacher, at this stage, with this particular Punascha Janmantra Karma Yoga, he ends the discussion on the micro, the individual, and then he shifts to Samashti, the universal. So that's what he's saying. Yascha Jivaha Puratraye Kridati. The Jiva plays around in all the three worlds. Tatastu Jatam Sakalam Vichitram. From that same Jiva, now here it is important, from the same Jiva who is actually Paramatma. The Jivatma is none other than Paramatma. Therefore, Tatahatu, from that very same Jiva, Jatam is born Sakalam Vichitram. Sakalam Vichitram means all that you can see, everything that you can see, the multiplicity that you can see. So from that very same Jiva, who's actually none other than Paramatma, the entire universe is created. And therefore, Adhara, the Jiva becomes the Adhisthana, substratum of the entire universe, which is what Sthiti Karana, right? That's why we say Vishwadharam Gangana Sadram. Gaganam Sadrasham. Gaganam means space. Vishwa Adharam Gagana Sadrasham. Like space. So, like space, I am the all pervading existence and consciousness. That's something which, for us to accept that I am all pervading, it requires a lot of maranam and nididhyasana. To accept that the millions and billions of galaxies in the world are just like dreams in me, the consciousness principle, it requires a lot of nididhyasana. And to accept that everything resolves into me, yasmin layam cha, that I am the dissolution ground of everything, of all the three worlds. So that when you see these cosmic events, a supernova exploding, a star collapsing into, a black hole. Remember, for the Vyavaharika Jiva, it's a huge cosmic event which can hardly be understood. But for me, the Paramarthika Jiva, Paramarthika Atma, it is not even a bubble because I hold the entire fabric of time and space together inside me, right? And therefore, the shift of the idea that I am the superficial, helpless, finite, vyavahadika jiva. From that I am that paramarthika in which everything is held together. Entire time and space itself are born inside me. It's a very major shift. Requires a lot of nididhyasa. Again, you have to understand that this Jivatma and Paramatma status both are mithya because both are conferred because of upadhi. The Jiva and the Param of the Atma, Jiva Atma, Paramatma, are only because of inferior upadhis and superior upadhis. Once that upadhi, the reflecting medium, is removed, both the creator and the created status vanish. I will neither be the creator nor will I be the created. What am I? Atma alone. And therefore it says Anandam Akhanda Bodham. I am Ananda alone. I am Akhanda Bodha alone. Akhanda Bodha is invisible, indivisible consciousness. Nirgunam. Right? Remember that the created and the creator are both attributes, both are gunas. But in my essence, I am pure consciousness, akhanda bodha, indivisible pure consciousness, which is also anandaha. Anandaha here means ananta, eternal, refers to the ananta tattva, the completeness, the purnatva, never lacking, never deficient. Sureshwaracharya comments somewhere on the word soham. Soham is a mantra which a lot of people use. What does it mean? Saha aham. I am that. So he says that Saha is Paramatma with the Upadhi. And when the Sa part, the Upadhi is gone, what remains is the O. And from Ham, her part, when the Upadhi is gone, it's a very nice, comment which he has made. You have to look at the actual Sanskrit words to understand. Soham is basically the combination of Saha, Aham, right? So it's Soham. That's how we pronounce it. And out of that, the Saha refers to Paramatma, he says, but Ishvara. So Paramatma with the Upadhi. What is Upadhi? The world. And he says when out of so, the Sa part is gone. What remains? Only the O. What is the second part? Hum. So hum. Out of hum, he says the Upadhi is the Ha part. So when the Ha part is gone, what remains is the Ma. And therefore both the Upadhis are gone. The Sa is gone and the Ma is gone. Out of Soham, when the Sa and the Ma are, the Sa and the Ha are gone, what remains?
Om.
Om.
And what is Om? Nirguna Brahman.
Brahman.
That's a beautiful little explanation he has given for Soham. He says, remove the Upadhis, which is Sa and Ha, and Om remains. Om is Mahavakyam, Nirguna Brahman. Therefore, Soham is a Mahavakyam. Very beautiful little explanation somewhere he has given. Okay, we go on to the 15th mantra. We chant. Etasmad jayate pranaha
एतस्मात् जायते प्राणः
manas sarvendriyani cha
मनः
सर्वेन्द्रियाणि
सर्वेन्द्रियाणि च
सर्वेन्द्रियाणि च
kham vayurjyotirapaha
Kham
वायुर्ज्योतिरापः
ज्योतिरापः
prithvi vishwasya dharini.
पृथिवी
पृथिवी
विश्वस्य
विश्वस्य
धारिणी
धारिणी
So let us look at the words first. Etasmat, from that, from what? From this what? From this jiva. Pranaha jayate. The prana is born. Manaha jayate. The mana is born. Sarvendriyani jayate. All the sense organs are born. Kham Vayuhu Jyotihi Apaha Prithvihi Jayate. Kham is space, Vayu is air, Jyoti is fire, Apaha is water, Prithvi is earth. All are born. And
Vishwasya Dharani.
Dharani Vishwasya, supporter of all. Right? So, Etasmat, from the very same Jiva, who is actually the Paramatma, the entire creation is born. This is Atma with Samashti Upadhi. And he gives the whole list. Prana, Mana, Sarvendriyani, Kam, Vayu, Jyoti, Apaha, Prithvi. And then Vishwasya Dharani refers to which one? It refers to Prithvi over here. Okay. So the first line, Manaha, Etasmat Prayate Janaha, Pranaha, Manaha, Sarvendriyani cha. The first line, Manaha, deals with the creation of the micro, the Vyashti. And the second line, you have to see the differences. In the first line, we are talking about the individual jiva, right? What are those? Pranaha, Manaha, all the indriyas. And the second line, Kam Vayu Jyoti Apaha Prithvihi, it refers to the creation of the samashti, right? The macro. And then all of these are born from that same Atma, which has associated itself with the samashti upadhi, the universe. That's why this lines basically means that not only does Paramatma Ishvara create the universe, he also creates the jiva. Both macro and micro are born from that Paramatma. Now we go on to the 16th mantra. Yat param brahma sarvatma
Yat param brahma
परं ब्रह्म
sarvatma
सर्वात्मा
vishwasyayatanam mahat
Vishwasya yatanam
विश्वस्यैतन्यतलं विश्वस्यायतनं महत्
sushmat sushmataram nityam
Sukshma
सूक्ष्मात् सूक्ष्मात्
Sukshmataram
सूक्ष्मतरं
Sukshmataram
Nityam
नित्यम्
Nityam
tatmameva tvameva tat tatmameva tvameva tat.
Tattvam
तत्त्वमेव
Tattvameva
त्वमेव
Tvameva
तत्
Tat
Again, a very, very beautiful mantra. Tvameva, you indeed, tat mahata. You are that infinite, tat mahata, infinite, nityam, eternal, from Brahma, supreme Brahman, yet sarvatma, which is the self of all, which is the atma of all, and vishwasya ayatanam, the residence of all, sukshmat, sukshmataram, more subtle than the subtlest, or more subtle than the subtle. And what is that? Tadeva Tvam. That Brahman indeed is you. So you have to see both. Tattvameva Tvameva Tat. Tvameva Tat. You are that. And Tadeva Tvam. That is you. Two very important phrases. Tvameva Tat. You are that Brahman. And Tadeva Tvam. That Brahman is you. So basically, establishing identity. Mahavakyam. So now in the next few mantras, you're going to find all Mahavakyams. And this is the section, the 14, 15, 16, 17 mantras. This is a section for which this Upanishad is very, very famous because it gives a whole series of Mahavakyams. So Lord Brahmaji is saying that the Ishvara, Paramatma, who is the creator of the universe, Jagat Karanam, is none other than the created Jivatma. It's a very nice way of showing the Aikyam. The creator of the universe, Paramatma, is not different from the created Jivatma. And therefore, first he gives the definition of the Paramatma. Yat Param Brahma. Param Brahma, which Atma with the universe as the attribute, with the Samashti Upadhi, is what? Vishwasya Ayatanam, the substratum, the residence of the entire universe, and therefore only Mahat. Mahat means the universe, including space. And therefore Brahman is even more all-pervading than space. Space arises or is born only at creation and then resolves at the time of Pralayam into Brahman itself. Therefore, Brahman is even the support of Akasha. And then a series of adjectives. Sarva Atma. He is the essence of the entire creation. Essence means what? If the essence is gone, everything else disappears. And then essence is available as what? In the form of the existence principle, Sat, and in the form of the consciousness principle, Chit, in all the living beings. And all the non-living beings, Brahman is available as what?
Existence.
As existence, the sub-principle, right? Then Nityam, Brahman is eternal, continues to exist even if the universe is gone, even if all the reflecting media are gone, Brahman continues to exist. Even space and time, they get resolved, but they get resolved into Brahman. So that is worth meditating about. Everything, the entire universe is located in space and time. But space and time itself is located in Brahman. And that is why we say when Pralayam comes, even space and time, it gets resolved into Brahman. Now there is a question which I can ask. Time and space, we are saying, is part of the universe, which means there is duality, right? Why do we say so? What is the distinction between time and space? What is space? A very simple
A
idea. When you say
distance, a distance or
Between two
only
objects.
there can be
Between
space only between two things or two
objects or things.
places or
correct. So space is the gap, so to say, between two things or two places. It can be gap between the glass and the bottle. It can be the gap between USA and India. The space between two or more things is the gap. Is the gap between the two or more things. Similarly, time is the gap between two or more events. You know, like between your birth and your 50th birthday, there is a gap. That gap is called time. And since there are two things involved, or more than two things involved, remember that time and space both can be defined only with the help of a minimum of two things. Space is the gap between two things. Time is the gap between two things. You can also, of course, say between the more than two things, but minimum is two. And therefore, duality, Dvaitam is very, very much part of the definition of space and time. And that is why we cannot say time and space are part of Brahman. They resolve into Brahman. They are part of duality only, part of Vyavahara. And that is why when we say Nityam, it is timeless. We call it timeless, where there is no time, which is not constrained by time, because there are no two things. Then the next word is Sukshmat, Sukshmataram. More subtle than the subtle, subtler than the subtle, right? And if you remember Tattva Bodha, how do you measure? What is the measure of Sukshmam? You have to recall Tattva Bodha for the definition.
Perceiving through various senses, like Panchabhutas, we do the creation, like each one becomes more subtle, more gross from space to Prithvi.
the number of gunas each one possesses.
Very good. The greater the number of gunas, the more gross the object. And the less the number of gunas, the more sukshmam the object. And the more subtle the object is, the more difficult it is to comprehend. So we saw, right, that Prithvi is the least subtle because it has got five gunas: Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, which means it can be grasped by what is the significance of the guna. Each guna can be grasped by one indriya. Therefore, Prithvi can be grasped by all the five indriyams. Similarly, Jalam can be grasped by only four, Agni by three, Vayu by two, and Akasha is the subtlest. It has only one guna. What is that?
Shabda.
Shabda. Shabda Matra Guna is there. Only the Shrotri Indriyam can grasp Akasha because of sound, subtle sound. And even this is difficult to understand because Akasha's Shabda is manifest only through a instrument like speech. Right? You can't say Akasha has a sound unless something is manifesting it. Speech is the manifestation of, or any instrument which you play, any sound generated by any instrument, including your voice box, is basically the manifestation of the sound of Akasha. Akasha sound is very subtle and therefore difficult to understand unless you are a Shastric student. And against all of this, Brahman doesn't have even a single guna. Therefore, it cannot be comprehended by any indriya. That is why apramayam. It cannot be objectified at all. Okay. If no indriyam can prove that Brahman exists, how do you know that Brahman exists? What is the primary way of knowing that Brahman exists?
Shruti.
Shruti.
Shraddha in the Vedas.
Shruti Pramanam.
Shruti statement is that Brahman exists, and therefore all of us accept the existence of Brahman. Right? Now, take that statement further. What is it which exists but can never be the object of your knowledge? Brahman exists, we know. So, this is the very subtle question which this mantra is asking. What is it which exists but you can never know?
You yourself, the observer.
You yourself. Therefore, Tattvameva. That Paramatma is none other than you. Because everything in the world can be observed by the Pramata, the consciousness principle, with the reflected mind. Even your body-mind complex is observed by you. And through that, you observe the world. Therefore, the body-mind complex has double role. They are the observed as well as the observing medium, right? But I, the consciousness principle, am neither the observed nor the observing medium. I am the observer. You remember that's very careful definition. You are not the observed, number one. You are not the observing medium. What are you? You are the observer consciousness. You have to make a difference. The observing medium is the pramata. The pramata means consciousness plus ahankara, plus mind. But you are not that either. So you are not the reflecting medium, but nor are you the reflected consciousness. You are the observer consciousness. What is your role? By the mere presence, you give life to the body, consciousness to the body, existence to the body. And through this body, you interact with the universe. Right? The same idea can be extended to the mind also. You are not the material universe, nor are you the material body, nor are you the material mind, but you are that non-material consciousness principle called Brahma. So these are all Mahavakya mantras because they all reveal Jivatma, Paramatma, oneness, Aikyam. Note that Jivatma and Paramatma are not separate entities. You should always remember that. There is only one attributeless consciousness, Nirguna Chaitanyam, Atma, Brahman. And this is manifested through different upadhis, different reflecting media. One is micro, Vyashti, one is macro, Samashti. Therefore, you have only one OC, Brahman, but you have two RCs. One RC is in Nikrishna Upadhi, inferior Upadhi, reflection in a inferior Upadhi, Nikrishna Upadhi in Sanskrit. And the other reflection is in Utkrishta Upadhi, superior Upadhi. So Nikrishta Upadhi is Vyashti Upadhi, Utkrishta Upadhi is Samashti Upadhi. And therefore, for the same OC, you have two RCs. One is the Jivatma, one is Ishvara or Paramatma. So both are distortions. You have to accept that Jivatma is a distortion of the original, inferior distortion. Paramatma is a distortion of the original, superior distortion, but distortion never the same. Right? So in the superior upadhi, the attributes will appear to be very superior. In the inferior upadhi, the attributes will appear to be inferior, which is Jivatma. The attributes appearing superior is the Paramatma or Ishvara. So basically the difference is only because of upadhi. And the Parama in the Paramatma indicates that there are superior gunas because of the superior upadhi. The Jivatma in the Jiva indicates that there are inferior gunas because of the inferior upadhi. But when you separate the upadhi, the RM, you will find that there is a Atma which is free from all gunas, Nirguna Brahman. So this indicates what is our job. For understanding the Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikyam, you have to mentally drop the reflecting media. The physical body you have to drop, and you have to drop the mentally, right? You can't drop the physical body physically. Mentally, you drop the physical body. Mentally, you drop the universe. What you are now seeing is neither Jivatma or Paramatma. This method of mentally dropping a part is what is known as what?
Agatyaga Lakshana.
Agatyaga.
Agatyaga Lakshana. And this is the Aikyam, right? So inferior attributes are only incidental due to Upadhi. And you should never be bothered by things which are incidental. They are distortion caused by the RM. Okay. Now, some people say that Jivatma is Paramatma, but Paramatma is Jivatma, right? That is not really true. In fact, we talked about Soham. There is also something called Hamsaha, Aham Saha. It's called Samsaha. I am that. A lot of people interpret Samsa, I am that, as saying that I am part of that. Saying that Jivatma is Paramatma, but Paramatma is not Jivatma. It's indicating a part whole sambandha, part whole relationship. But this is not a correct understanding. The correct understanding is that Hamsa Soham is one pair, indicating that there is a two-way relationship. The relationship is absolutely identical. Jivatma is Paramatma, and Paramatma is Jivatma. And that is why this mantra very clearly says again, Tvameva Tat. It says that Tvameva, that Brahman you are, and Tvameva Tat means you are that Brahman. Brahman is you, you are Brahman. It's both the ideas put together means that there is nothing other than you. Jivatma and Paramatma, Jivatma and Brahman are the same. When these ideas are properly assimilated, the Aikyam is complete. In fact, I have taken up this Upanishad earlier. You should actually take it up at after having done a fair amount of Upanishads, which means what happens? That you will be completely understanding each of these ideas. Now we'll look at the next mantra. Mantra number 7. Jagrat Swapna Sushuptyadi
Jagrat
Jagrat Swapna
Sushuptyadi
Sushuktiyadi
Prapancham Yat Prakashate
Prapancham yat
Prapancham Yat
prakashate
Prakashate
Tad Brahmahamiti Tad Brahmahamiti Gyatva
Tad
tad
Brahmahamiti
brahmamiti
Brahma
Jnatva
jnatva
Sarvabandhaif Pramuchyate.
Sarvabandhaiः
sarvabandhaiः
pramuchyate.
pramuchyate.
So, Aham Tad Brahma. I am that Brahman. And what kind of Brahman? Yat Prakashate, which reveals, which illumines, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti Adi. Means the worlds like waking, dreaming, and sleeping. And iti gyatva, having known in this manner, sarva bandhaihi pramuchyate. A person is liberated from all bondage. Right? So here we have to recall Tattvabodha again. The consciousness associated with Sthula Shariram is called Vishwa in Jagrata Avastha, right? The consciousness associated with Sukshma Shariram, that is Swapna Avastha, is called Taijasa. The consciousness associated with Sushupti Avastha, Karna Shariram, is called Prajna. And what is the equation? Vishwa plus Tajasa plus Prajna put together is called Jiva. And since this Jivatma is associated with the Sthula, Swapna, Sthula, Sukshma, and Karna Sharirams, all of which are inferior attributes, it's called Jivatma. It's called the Nikrishta Upadhi, association with inferior attributes, and that is why Jivatma. But what is that Jivatma? Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti Adi is the consciousness principle which reveals the three avasthas, Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti. That's right. It's important to understand. As the Paramatma, who is now in the role of Jivatma, there are three universes which you experience. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Three states, three avasthas. Right? The Sushupti Prapancha, the universe which is there in Sushupti Avastha, is actually nothing but what? Is there a relationship between Sushupti universe and Jagrat and Swapna universes?
Acharyaji, Sushupti is the very base
the
or
cause.
existence, pure existence, because when the mind is there, Jagrat is there. Mind and body is there, then Jagrat Avastha is there. When just mind is there, then Swapna Avastha is there.
What is the relationship? in Sushupti Avastha, where is the Swapna Avastha and Jagrata Avastha? Also, or rather, in Sushupti Prapancha, in the universe which is present in Sushupti Avastha, is there
Viparyana.
Jagrata Avastha and Swapna Avastha?
Unmanifest
Avyakta.
seed form.
Wait.
It is
Unmanifest form.
uh,
Exactly.
seed.
Sushupti Prapancha contains the Swapna Prapancha and the Jagrata
Mhm.
Prapancha in
Yes.
unmanifest form. That is why Sushupti Prapancha is called Avyakta Prapancha. And the other name of Avyakta Prapancha is what? Maya. So remember, there's a very deep connection that your Sushupti Avastha is basically Avyakta Avastha, right? See, Karna Shariram, individual, while we use that for our teaching purposes, no Acharya, remember, no Acharya, including Shankaracharya, distinguishes between individual Karna Shariram and Samashti Karna Shariram. Because there are no distinctions that you can distinguish between two things only when there are distinguishing attributes. But between the individual Karma Shariram and the Samashti Karma Shariram, there are really no distinguishing attributes because there is nobody to distinguish. And therefore, no Shankaracharya even does not separate these two. He talks of them as one only. That is why we say that during Sushupti Avastha, the universe available, which can be called Sushupti Prapancha, has another name, more common name called Avyakta Prapancha. Avyakta Prapancha is the most common name called Avyakta Maya. So in the Sushupti state, you are witnessing what? See, in the Jagrata Avastha, you are witnessing the Jagrata Prapancha. In the Swapna Avastha, you are witnessing the Swapna Prapancha. In the Sushupti Avastha, you are witnessing the Sushupti Prapancha, which is nothing but Maya, Avyakta Maya, right? And that Avyakta Maya is not nothingness. It is the entire creation in Avyakta Avastha, the potential creation, unmanifest state. So this is what is being said. Thus, as Jivatma, you are the witness of three things. Jagrat, Sthula Prapancha. Swapna, Sukshma Prapancha. Sushupti, Avyakta Prapancham, entire Maya itself. Then, as the witness, are you affected by what you witness? No. Vedanta says no. That just as the sunlight, which reveals all the objects on the earth, including dirty objects, is not contaminated by dirty objects or improved by sacred objects. Just like that, you, the witness, are not affected by whatever you witness. And therefore, all the fluctuations of your mind, they belong to the mind, not to you. And that is why at this stage, most of us should consider ourselves as jnanis. As jnanis, you have to accept the fluctuations of your mind, not because they don't create disturbances, but because of the understanding that the mind is disturbed because the mind is subject to three gunas. That understanding that the mind is not me, the mind is composed of three gunas. Three gunas are always fluctuating. Mind will fluctuate. That understanding will build a certain degree of separation from the mind. That separation is called Sakshi Bhava. As the Sakshi, I know that I have got a mind. Okay. Another point here. In this particular mantra, look at the term Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Adi. But there are only three avasthas. What is the point of adding Adi?
Turyam.
Turyam avastha.
No.
Turyam avastha.
Anatya Adi
Om
is
Acharya,
never
you had
ending.
once mentioned something like a twilight avastha. I don't remember where, but there is that some in between, you said,
Acharya ji,
before we enter.
in Mandukya,
Yes.
Shankaracharya ji mentioned
Mandukya,
about
yeah, in
moving from
Mandukya
Mandukya.
Jagrat to
Upanishad.
Okay.
If
Swapna.
you remember
Yes.
Mandukya, you will uh, there's a gray area in
Yes.
which which is not clearly classifiable either as Jagrat, Swapna, or Sushupti. You are, in fact, everybody experienced it. They may not have given a name to it. You are neither awake nor are you asleep. And it is said that in such, this is a sort of, very peculiar state where future events cast the shadow. Ubhayata Prajna, that was the name which we used. Ubhayata Prajna, the consciousness in the intermediary state. So that state also, Adi mentions that particular state, which is neither sleep, nor sushupti, nor jagarat. It's some sort of an intermediate state. And it is said that intuitions, the idea of what is going to happen, that is because of this sort of a state. Shastra accepts that such a state can exist. So yet prakashati, that consciousness which illumines all these three and plus one, ubhayata prajna also, aham, I am that consciousness. And tat brahma aham iti. I am that Brahman, the creator. So again, it's a Mahavakyam, right? So what is, in remember any Mahavakyam, the Jivatma and the Paramatma will be mentioned, but without any preposition, right? So, for example, I am from Jivatma. When you say, it means that I am from Paramatma. If you say, these are not Mahavakyams. I am Jivatma. I am from Jivatma. I am from Paramatma. I am in Paramatma. These are not Mahavakyams. Because prepositions divide. They create Dvaitam, right? So, when there is freedom from these vibhakti, in Sanskrit they call it Bhedaka Vibhakti, that proposition which creates divisions, right? So when there is a freedom from these divisions, Bhedaka Vibhakti Abhavaha, there are no propositions indicating a division, Samanya Adhikaranam, then you get the Aikyam. So I am that OC, but whenever you say RC, remember there is a Upadhi, the RM associated. The RM is never free from problems. And as long as you are associated with the RM, which means as long as you are a RC, your life will be ups and downs. Because the condition of the mirror always influences the image. Therefore, here it is being said, identify as the OC. You have to use the RC, but always identify with the OC. And if you can do that, then sarva bandhaihi pramuchyate. You are free from all the bonds belonging to the RC. Jayate, priyate, etc. The life becomes a leela, which is what Krishna Leela actually indicates. A life becomes a continuous enjoyment. So with this, we'll stop here because there's not enough time for the next mantra. But we have a few minutes in case of any questions.
So, I just wanted to ask one question, Acharya ji. So, Maya is also beginningless and endless.
Maya is definitely beginningless and endless, but Maya's influence on you can be ended.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot say, I'll end Maya. Maya is matter.
Mm-hmm.
Matter cannot be ended.
Yeah, matters. Yeah. And then
But
when we are in susception form, so like where is Maya that time? When it's in the susception, we are unmanifested form. So we are
uh,
not affected by Maya that time.
you are not there at all. If matter is
Okay.
not there, where are you?
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Physically, yeah, we are not there.
That question is actually a good question because if you say I am Atman, anyway you are not affected by Maya. And if you
Mm-hmm.
say I am Jiva, then you are not there at that point of time because we don't have a
Mm-hmm.
body.
Mm-hmm.
So
Acharyaji, for a jnani, Maya does not exist because he knows it's mithya.
see, here I'll take a big point. The jnani, when he says something or thinks something, remember is using mithya mind. And
Okay.
therefore, it's a very subtle idea, that when you say a person is a jnani, it is somebody else saying. No jnani will ever say I am a jnani. Because the moment I say I am jnani, what am I saying? I am saying there are other people who are ajnanis.
And is
And
with
if,
him.
if you convert jnanam as Brahman, then you are saying, I am Brahman, but somebody else is not Brahman. Which means you are not Brahman either, because you are not understood.
Ji. But for
And
Nidhi
therefore,
Dhyasnam purposes, for when we contemplate on Maya element, we need to understand that Maya is mithya and
you
there's
understand
only
Maya is
one
mithya.
Satya.
That's it. That you are Brahman, but Maya is mithya.
Ji. Thank you, Acharyaji.
Okay. So with this, we'll stop for today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya
Purnamadaye
Purnam Eva
Purnam Eva
Vasishyate
Shishyate
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti Om Tat Sat
Shanti
That's
Om
it.
Namah
Om Tat
Shivaya.
Sat Om Namah
Thank you for your
Shivaya. Thank you,
patience.
Acharyaji. Om